What is going on, Failroaders? I'm Joshua Thomas, and I'm just here to talk about Final Fantasy in general. So much info was dropped last month, and I was either gone or sick for most of it, so there's just so much to catch up on, and I want to talk about it. So, we're going to talk about primarily Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy XVI. I'm going to get 16 out of the way first, and then we'll talk about all the news that dropped on Final Fantasy VII Compilation, I guess I should say, because there's so many games coming out right now. If you're watching this live, or if you're watching this after the live viewing, there's one thing I want to know, and that is, what order would you play the compilation of Final Fantasy VII in? I have my theories on it, and I'm going to make a video later, maybe this month, maybe in August, explaining. And then we will. So I want to see what you guys have to say, and then some of that might help influence what I say in that video. So let's get started. I'm going to be on vacation next week also, so I'm not going to have any video regarding Final Fantasy VII coming out week. So in a world ruled by tyranny and turmoil, there are those who would fight to take back control of their fate. Final Fantasy XVI. I haven't been as excited about Final Fantasy XVI as I have been about Final Fantasy VII. I think part of that is just that we haven't learned. We've gotten a lot of tidbits about the storyline and how it's going to go, but I think there's still just something missing, and I think that might be the motivation of the main character. He's going to become the dominant, appears to be Ifrit's like going to be his primary. But we can also see in this combat sequences that he has access to powers and abilities that come from other summons as well, or dominants, I guess you could call them, for this game. So the other reason I think I'm not as excited for Final Fantasy XVI right now is just because I know 7 Rebirth is coming out, and so much is going on with 7, and that's already an established IP. That's an established, the characters are well known and beloved. A remake, a lot of people think that remake was amazing. Some people don't. I'm one of those ones who thinks it was amazing. Nevertheless, you're gonna hear me clearing my throat a lot because I'm still congested from when I was sick. What we can see from the trailer, one of the big things people are talking about are these dominant fights. They definitely showcased this a lot. And that's going to be something that is sort of new. Like, they did a little bit in Final Fantasy 15 where, Noctis fights against these creatures, these famous creatures that can be summoned in other Final Fantasies, and then once he defeats them, he can then summon them at some points. And then in Final Fantasy VII Remake, you get to give them commands. But in this one, it's basically going to be like, almost looks like this sort of Mortal Kombat-ish kind of fighting. Like, we're just throwing punches at each other. It's going to be like Goliath battles or something like that. I don't know exactly how to word it. I don't want to say kaiju because I don't know. I don't really care about that phrasing. But at one point in the trailer, I think we're going to see it pretty early on here, we see what appears to be Clive and maybe the dominant, who is Garuda, naked. I think we're going to see it here in just a few seconds. Creative Business Unit 3. But that's a part of this mature rating that they've got going on here, is that this is, I think, going to be the first numbered Final Fantasy that is mature rated. So we've already seen in the previous trailer that there's blood. I wonder if we missed that part already. Maybe it's coming up. And then it looks like, yeah, there it is right there. It looks like that could be the female who is Garuda and Clive. So it looks like they're sitting naked either in a bedroom of some sort or in some kind of private chamber. There's going to be some kind of love story going on here. And there's definitely going to be a lot of politics involved in this as well. It's going to be interesting to see how these dominants are treated, because we've learned from, I think, the website that, depending on what country they're from, they're either loved or feared or hated. So it's going to be interesting to see how these different kingdoms play on this. Another thing, once again, we see the dominant battles here. We haven't seen too much of them either. So I'm wondering how much control we're going to have during these battles. Like, is it going to be like a Final Fantasy VII Remake sort of amount of control where we're actually moving them around, and then every once in a while we do some really powerful ultimate attack that we're seeing in these videos where they're blowing off limbs, and and we've already learned also from interviews that Clive is going to be the main controllable character, and there is going to be sort of a party system element. Like, there will be party members at certain points, but they're not going to be controllable. And I think that's another reason why I'm not too excited about it. There are fun games where you do only have control of one character, and that character has party members who will fight alongside them, and those are still good games. But I think part of it is I come from the generation that first played the JRPGs on the PlayStation 1, and in that generation, most games, you had control of all the characters. Of course, there was some kind of turn-based system or time-based system or time/pause system where either people just took turns in a row, thing to do with the character's speed stat, what order they went in, and stuff like that, or like a time meter filling up, kind of like the ATB system in Final Fantasy VII Remake and the original Final Fantasy. So I get that it's possible to have fun with these games, but at the same time, when you say, hey, there's going to be other characters in the party, I'm just like, cool, I want to play as those characters. But it doesn't appear that that's going to happen right now in 16. So we've seen that Clive is able to switch different styles or two different abilities based on maybe the different dominants that he defeats, or maybe the ones who become his ally. We have yet to see that. But nevertheless, I am going to get it when it comes out. I am going to be excited. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing storyline, and once it gets closer to release, maybe something in December, or maybe after Crisis Core Reunion comes out, maybe we'll start seeing more for Final Fantasy XVI. Let me know if you guys are excited. I see there's some people in the chat or who are watching. So let me know if you guys are excited to play Final Fantasy XVI, or if you guys are looking forward more to Final Fantasy VII basically any of the games in Final Fantasy VII. Um, so, with that said, I think that's all I wanted to say about Final Fantasy XVI for right now. There's there's still a lot that could be talked about, and I've seen other creators talking about it as well. Um, and then summer 2023, that was another thing too. Summer 2023, when I saw that after the trailer, I was a little disappointed. I was hoping it was going to be like fall 2022. So when I saw that, it immediately made me think Rebirth is going to, at the time it was Remake Part 2, but Rebirth is going to at least come out like 4 to 6 months after that. So that was disappointing to me for that reason. But let's switch over to just Final Fantasy VII, just in general. Let's talk about those games for a minute. Um, I'm most looking forward to Rebirth of all the games that we could talk about, and I am there. There are many things that I'm hoping translate from Remake to Rebirth. A lot of them have to do with the combat system. I'm okay if they update the current combat system. Hopefully they don't make drastic changes to it, and it looks like they will take into account a lot of people's suggestions and gripes that they had with the combat system, such as aerial combat. That's definitely a thing that people gripe about a lot and continue to do so. And then the other big thing too was sort of unannounced phase shifts in boss battles. They didn't bother me too much when I played the game, but as I have seen other people playing the game, as I've watched their playthroughs online, that has been something that irritates them a lot. Is this, they're getting ready to use this ultimate limit break or something, and then phase shift. And another thing that really sucked about that was that their limit or their stagger bars reset. Like, there was kind of no reason for that. There's kind of no reason to reset the stagger bar. So, something I noticed in Final Fantasy Origins, Stranger of Paradise, is that they do sort of have a phase shift indicator. A phase shift indicator for the boss battles. So I think it's the health bar was broken up into segments. I've been playing it recently. That's the one I'm currently playing. So I think, seeing that it was done in that one, even though this was done by a different studio in association with Square Enix, I think they can adopt something like that in Rebirth, which is something I hope they do. Some other things that I think would be pretty amazing would be some sort of synergy system like what we have with Yuffie and Sonon, except with the playable characters. And I'll say this real quick. As far as playable characters go, I don't think Sephiroth is going to be controllable in Rebirth, in the flashback. He wasn't controllable in the OG game. And I know you guys are saying, but this is different. This is the remake, and this is Rebirth, and they can do that now. The fans want it. I hate to say it, but I feel like that is sort of a negative fan service. In other words, it's serving the fans something that they want, but that doesn't enrich the storyline. And what I mean by that is, it's not within Sephiroth's character to be controllable. We shouldn't get to control him. Oh, let's skip past this. All the boring stuff. Let's go. Is this it? Yeah, this is it right here. One last video. It's not within Sephiroth's character to be controlled by someone. Sephiroth is the one who plays us. He is the one who is in control, and to be able to control him running around in the battlefield, using those awesome moves, it also takes away a bit from his awesomeness, because we need to be playing as Cloud, this level 1 character, and maybe Sephiroth is going to be level 50, maybe he's going to be an even higher level, maybe like 75 or something. But we need to be stuck as Cloud. We need to feel like we are Cloud. And the only way to do that is for us to be having to play as Cloud against these really tough enemies and constantly being saved by Sephiroth. Would it be fun to do that a lot? No, it wouldn't. But there needs to be something like that in there. And feel free to disagree with me on that if you want, but that serves the storyline and the character development instead of the fan service. But apologies for those of you who are just joining. I'm still recovering from an illness. But and those of you who are just joining as well, I posited a question earlier. What order would you tell people to play the Final Fantasy VII compilation games in? And I'll reiterate it for you guys too. I don't think it's like a straight line, like you play this, then this, then this, then this, then this. I think it's more like, if you want to play this game, you need to have played this and this. And if you want to play this game, you need to have played this one. So kind of something like that. But feel free to comment. And once again, if you're watching this after the live viewing, leave a comment below letting me know what order you would think or you would tell people to play the Final Fantasy VII compilation in. So talking about some kind of synergy system with like Sonon had, except this time with the playable characters. A lot of people are speculating, once we get out into the open world, sort of, so to speak, and we have 5 and 6 and 7 characters all in our party at once, how are we going to be able to switch characters? I don't think they are going to have more than 3 characters in a party at once. I saw a lot of people who are new to the franchise who played Remake for the first time, and they got into chapter 17 or 18 and they were like, oh boy, I'm going to get to play as 4 or 5 characters at a time, and it didn't happen. Those of us who played the OG know, okay, well, traditionally in Final Fantasy you either have 3 party members at a time or you have 4. Final Fantasy VII, you had 3. I do think there is room for this synergy system to allow for a 4th party member to come in at certain points. Maybe when you're swapping out characters, maybe the 2 characters who are swapping can do some sort of combination move together as they swap out, or maybe a character, maybe you can synergize with them and sort of summon them into the fight, almost like a guest party member, like Red 13 was in the Genova Dreamweaver battle. So that was one of the rare moments where technically you had 4 party members playing. It's just that, or 40 party members in combat. It's just that Red 13 was uncontrollable. He was a guest. Nevertheless, he was there doing his signature move. What was it? The Stardust Ray or something like that. And but I don't feel like we should just get these synergies. They should be something that has to be sort of earned. And the way I would see it happening is, let's say, your 3 party members will use the stereotypical, Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa. That's like the first thing most people do when they leave Midgar is, Barrett's like, okay, we should separate who's going to travel with who. And then, of course, you pair up with the 2 women, and Barrett's like, I should have known you were going to do something like that. So let's say you've got Tifa and Aerith in your party. that increases your affinity with them as you fight with them in combat. And so the more Cloud and Tifa fight together in combat, the more synergy they get. Same thing with Cloud and Aerith, and same thing with Aerith and Tifa. So perhaps all of these characters have some sort of unlockable synergizing abilities that they can perform at key moments in battle, or maybe like in Intergrade, it'll be a button switch. Like, okay, I'm synergizing. Okay, now I'm going to turn synergizing off because, there was a give and take with it, which I thought was good. So when you were synergizing, I think your ATB filled slower. I think that's what it was. I haven't played Intergrade or Intermission since last year, so correct me in the chat if I'm wrong about that. But and let me know what you guys think as well. And continuing on with combat in Rebirth, this is something I'm thinking of putting in, like 7 things to keep from Remake. Tailored boss battles. There were a few of them in Remake, and I loved them, and I think those ended up being a lot of people's. It was either their favorites or the bane of their existence. The first battle with Rude was really fun because you could tell that Rude treated Cloud differently than he treated Aerith, and also he had different move sets that he would use against them. Skip past this stuff. All right, good stuff. He would try to just beat the unholy hell out of Cloud, whereas with Aerith, he knew that he couldn't attack her, so he would only use knockout moves against her. So he would use that Sleep Dust move, and if she got into close combat with him, this was another cool thing. There was a unique animation that he would only do with Aerith. If you never got close with her, you never saw this, but if you get into close range with Rude, he will grab Aerith's staff, pull it to knock her off balance, and then karate chop her in the back of the head, or in the back of the neck, to temporarily stun her, to sort of take her out of the battle. So I thought that was really cool. And then, of course, I'm sure a lot of people have the Rufus fight that comes to mind. That was definitely tailored towards Cloud. So I hope we see more stuff like that in Rebirth. Let's look at, since it's about to come up now, and fast forward here, yeah. Going back on the, what order would you tell people to play the games in? I think it's interesting that they are coming out with Crisis Core Reunion before Rebirth. I don't know that they're doing this on purpose. I think they are coming out with Reunion because this is yet another thing that people have been clamoring to get re-released, and so now it's happening. And it's not just upgraded graphics, like, oh, we took the original polygons and polished them up. They have completely redone all of these graphics. It's not like they took the PSP version and just scaled it to this. That's impossible. They had to build these characters from scratch. So they've put a lot of work into this game, but I think they're mainly doing this for the original fans of Final Fantasy VII who have already played the original Crisis Core on the PSP. I've got mine, and for those of you who have never played Crisis Core, it was only ever available on the PlayStation Portable, and most people's PlayStation Portables now are either in mothballs or they're not working, like they've broken. For this one, my original battery actually swelled up, inside the system, and I just happened to notice it when I was playing. It was either Final Fantasy Tactics or it was, no, I think it was actually Crisis Core, because I was trying to play through it again, just to rehash my memory on Crisis Core, and the back of it was swelling out. It was bowing out, and I was just like, wait, this isn't normal. And so I took it off, and I think I've actually got it back here. Hopefully it doesn't explode on me. The battery, let me see if you guys can see that. Now it's got dust all over it. The battery had definitely swelled up. It's kind of hard to see now, but yeah, so it swelled up. I had to get a new battery, and it was an aftermarket battery. Let me back up to some more. And after I got this aftermarket battery, I started having screen issues. It's like the screen has slowly been degrading, and I can't show it to you right now because I haven't recharged it, mainly because I'm kind of afraid to play it now. The screen has degraded so much that it was starting to become unplayable, and it wasn't just Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII. Other games that I was playing on this were also having the same screen issues. So it was like these vertical lines were going down, and it's almost like the graphics were being displayed on the wrong lines. So I would see like two lines that were just repeats of each other, and the games weren't unplayable yet, but it was getting to the point where it was, you know, if a certain graphic or text was in the wrong place, it was hard to read. So anyway, but that's kind of the state that Crisis Core, the original Crisis Core, is in right now, is that people just can't play it. And so I see a lot of people at the end of their remake playthroughs, and I'll go through their comments, and a lot of people are like, you need to play Crisis Core next, play Crisis Core next. And I'll leave a comment in there saying, no, don't play Crisis Core next, because Crisis Core spoils secrets and twists that are in the original and that are going to be copied in Remake. But the story in Remake and Rebirth is also changing. And it's very clear that Zack is going to be an important part in Rebirth and Reinvigorated, whatever the third one is going to be. Reloaded. The Final Fantasy VII 3 Reloaded. Just like the Matrix. Or wait, what was the third Matrix movie? Resurrection? Either way. So that's part of the reason I think that they're coming out with Crisis Core before Rebirth, is just, you know, to give people the chance to see the story with Zack Fair. And they're definitely like giving everybody the opportunity to play this. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it's pretty much being released on every gaming platform: Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. And I would still, though, you know, there's the possibility that since they're calling it Reunion and they've redone all the graphics and possibly redone some of the voice acting as well, that they're going to change some things up so that it coincides much better with the compilation of Final Fantasy VII, because the director stated that, you know, he's working on all these projects. He's heading up all these projects and making sure that they coincide, making sure that they are cohesive. So it makes me wonder if it's going to be okay to play Reunion before playing Rebirth for those who have never played the OG, but I would still say, and this is something I'm going to say in the video that I make on, hey, what order should you play Final Fantasy VII games in, is that you should play the OG before playing Crisis Core. And if it comes down to, hey, let me know in the comments too. Those of you who are in the chat, if you've only played Remake and you're waiting for Rebirth, or if you're confused about, how all these different games fall into the compilation, just let me know. And I would still say, if the graphics of the OG are what are keeping you from playing it, then get it on Steam, get it on your PC, and download the mods that improve the graphics, that sort of make them like semi HD graphics. But now I recently saw someone else playing, I think it's called the Echo S mod, which adds voiceovers of, from what I can tell, to the entire game. And whether the voiceover acting is stupendous or not, that might be something that would get some of these younger players who are used to playing voice-acted games into the OG Final Fantasy VII. So let me know also if you've heard of the Echo S mod, and if you've played it and if you liked it or not. But that is, that's something that I'm really curious to see other people's opinions on. So let's look one more thing. I think it's at 6:40-ish. Yes, here we go. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. It's another possibility for a remake. So what do you guys think of this possibility of Ever Crisis? I'll go ahead and say the first thing that I think I share a lot with other American Final Fantasy VII fans is that I'm not looking forward to playing it on this screen. I'm going to play it so that I can get an idea of what it's like, to see how close of a remake it is to the original. I think this is something else that they are, this is something that Square Enix is doing sort of in answer to the graphics of the OG aren't good enough. They're remaking it with these upgraded graphics, which look like they take some graphics from Remake, even though they are dumbed down a little bit. Their resolution is reduced. And then, of course, you see their different outfits here. The game, Ever Crisis, is going to be free to download with transactions inside the game, so microtransactions. So you're going to be able to buy different skins or different outfits for these characters, possibly maybe purchase the ability to use them in areas where they're not originally able to be used in, or maybe in some kind of time attack challenges. But also, Ever Crisis is going to encompass 5 of the original games, or 4 of the games, and the movie Advent Children. So let me know what you think. I would personally rather play this on my computer. Once again, I don't want to play it on this tiny screen right here, even though, comparatively, cell phone screens have gotten much bigger, and this is a lot bigger than the phone I used to own, even just 5 or 6 years ago. I'd still rather play it on my computer. So that's kind of where we are with that. I'm still thinking that it'll be good, and I actually do look forward to being able to play Before Crisis, and being able to play maybe Dirge of Cerberus in a way that will be more enjoyable. I've played the original Dirge of Cerberus. The only game I haven't played out of the main story games is Before Crisis, so that'll be interesting. So let's just end off on the hype reel for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave comments down below, letting me, answering all those questions that I asked during this stream. If you made it this far, I appreciate it, and I hope you'll check out more of my board game and video game videos. And I want to give a special thanks as well to the people in this video right here. There were lots of awesome comments given in that video, some for my theories and some against my opinions of how the remake story goes. And just check it out, see what you think for yourself, and read those comments, because whether they were, for or against me, they did a really good job in their comments, and I really appreciated the conversations that we had. Thanks for watching. I'll check you next time, guys.